Renee Domingo, could you talk about what is your understanding of what will be accomplished by this grant?
Which is it?
So, thank you. You all had your chance to speak. So, would you please address some of the issues with regard to the scope of what is being done here, surveillance and otherwise?
In response to this project, my understanding and the reality of the project is that it is called the Domain Awareness Center. And basically, the simple definition of that is a concept of operations center, a common operating picture for first responders. While the police will have a role...
Terrorism, too, and the NYPD said that.
Sir, if you keep interrupting, I'm going to ask you to leave. We heard you.
It's counterterrorism.
Quiet, please. We have not, folks, I am gonna let the staff speak. We have not voted yet. And thank you, Mr. Domingo, please continue.
And in any event, Oakland's Domain Awareness Center will include law enforcement, fire, the Port of Oakland, and the emergency management services. That would be the plan for staffing the center. We are at a 50% mark in terms of the build out. The first phase was to upgrade our video wall and some of the equipment and computers in the existing emergency operations center, which is where the Domain Awareness Center will also reside. The purpose for us in the fire department and the city of Oakland is to design this center to be a 24/7 operation that will focus on interoperability, coordination for prevention, preparedness, response, and recovery, as well as mitigation efforts related to day-to-day emergencies, crimes, as well as major disasters. While some of the focus will be, as the speaker said, related to terrorism, we are using it as a multi-hazards system that will also allow us to more effectively respond to wide and large spread fires, such as wildland fires up in the Oakland Hills, to a major earthquake in the city of Oakland, because we would have better situational awareness, and to integrate disparate systems that currently don't talk to each other, so we can have a full view and a full picture of what's going on in a major event. I don't know anything about that, First Amendment activities, but
folks, I'm going to clear the room if you keep interrupting.
The goal of this project is to augment the current Emergency Operations Center. And we are here as the fire department and as the city of Oakland to protect the safety and security of all residents within the city of Oakland. If there are other issues beyond that, that is not of our concern. We're here to build it as a multi-hazard center for effective emergency operations.
All right, Ms. Domingo, and I also see that Mr. Begg is here. Is he working with you on that?
Yes, he can address any of the technical concerns or issues that you may have.
Okay, so could you address the $2 million contract with SAIC, and what is the nature of that work?
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the Council. My name is Hassan Beg. I'm from the Department of Information Technology. So the $2 million contract we're trying to get in place is to do the integration of the various systems Renee was just talking about. So this whole project is divided into multiple phases. So what we have done so far, the phase one is the enhancements and the improvements in the Emergency Operations Center. And also part of this implementation was the upgrade of our networking infrastructure. It also included the fiber optic linkage between the City of Oakland and the Port of Oakland, because we don't have that much capacity and the bandwidth capability right now. So this project really helped us. What we are trying to do into the phase 2, which is going to start once the council approves this staff report and the resolution, is to allow us to link all the different systems we have in the city, which is a major challenge. We don't have a common operating picture to look at the incidents, to look at the events, to look at the capabilities the City of Oakland has from the first responder perspective, looking at the mapping resources, looking at the different capabilities, link all those things together, and as Renee was talking about, providing the situational awareness so the first responders can respond to that emergency or that incident or that event in a more effective and efficient fashion.
All right, I am seeing 3 council members in the queue. Is that correct for this? I'm seeing McElhaney, Kolb, and Schaff. You are wanting to speak? Okay. So thank you for now. We're going to take some. So Ms. McElhaney.
Where are the guidelines? Where are the
Public disclosure of the guidelines.
Where are they? Okay. I'll wait for you to look into it.
Thank you, Madam President, and members of the public. And I think I have some questions of staff. That's really why I wanted to ask some questions and clarify. Some of the questions relate to some of the comments that we heard from the public. I only say, and this is not a fault or a criticism, I can only say I wish most or all the people who were here today were at the Public Safety Committee a week ago. Would have been more helpful then. Again, I'm not criticizing anybody for not being there. It was noticed in public for 10 days prior to last week, but maybe that people weren't aware of it, so that's okay. I'm trying to ask some questions here that I think are valid questions. It was on the Public Safety Committee agenda for 10 days, publicly noticed before we heard it last week. Yeah. Nevertheless, people didn't know about it. That's okay. That happens. It's hard to know about everything. So I have some questions. People are here today, so that's fine. One question is, when it was presented to us at Public Safety Committee, the impression we got, and I realize it wasn't 100% clear, but the impression we got was that it was predominantly, at least when it first started a few years ago, about port security, part of the national port security, because large ports throughout the country are very important. And the presentation suggested this is about commercial, industrial roads and perimeter and the port itself, and then then also some commercial or major roads and thoroughfares and highways that go into the port, including that. Is the reality that is that the area that they were talking about, or does it go much beyond that in terms of what this is going to be built out to? That's one question. Maybe why don't you answer that question, then I'll get to my other questions. How's that?
Councilmember Cobb, to answer your question, yes, the project is primarily port-centric because it is a city port domain awareness center. The cameras that we would integrate into the system, which is in the next phase, would be port cameras. They have about 100 to 135 cameras in the port area that are around their terminals and their businesses. Those are the primaries, and the City of Oakland has 5 cameras that we know of that are in traffic areas that would also be integrated. Okay.
And
so that is the primary focus of the project, is port-centric.
So when you say primary, I understand that is the primary focus, but that doesn't quite answer my question. I mean, does that mean there's some modest part of this that goes well beyond the port or access to the port?
We have, as stated in the Public Safety Committee meeting, we have also been in preliminary conversations with Caltrans, MTC, and other organizations to be part of the partners that would eventually, we would like to expand the system to. And we would talk about, when we're talking about Caltrans, we're talking about freeway cameras. That's what we're talking about. When we're talking about BART, we're talking about the cameras that are in the Oakland area.
Okay, so this possible or desired expansion that you just referred to just this moment ago, is that part of this grant, or is that the next phase that you're going to apply? I know you're going to apply for future grants, so is that part of
that? Would be down the future. We don't, for this next phase, as Hassan indicated, is for system integration. So our primary focus, depending on how far the money can take us, is to integrate the port systems, their GIS system, their cameras, etc. And if I've missed anything, maybe you can add to that.
So there are no residential areas?
No.
There are there are no interior buildings or anything like that?
No.
It's outside?
No.
Thank you. I have a few more questions. And somebody asked the question, well, let me ask the question. So when this is up and running, I guess it's already partly in place from at the Emergency Operations Center, but when this is more fully up and running, who is actually going to do the monitoring? Was it city staff and port staff to be doing the monitoring? Who's going to be actually looking at this?
The goal is for city staff and port staff to do the monitoring.
So there's no plans on contracting out to do monitoring?
No.
Okay. And are there, a couple of people made reference to some guidelines. Do they exist, or will they exist? And is that something that...
As we're going through this next phase of system integration, we are developing standard operating... We don't have a system now. So we will be developing standard operating guidelines, standard operating procedures, as well as looking at Public Record Act requirements, etc., data retention, and all of those items that will be part of the second phase.
And so will a presentation of those guidelines, proposed or otherwise, come before the Public Safety Committee in the future when those are ready?
Yes, they will.
Okay, that'd be good. Yes, but anything before any committee goes public to everybody, that's true. Are there other medium or large cities that do this already, or are farther ahead in the process than we are?
There are other cities that have domain awareness centers. We are the only city, though, that has a combined city and port domain awareness center. Long Beach, their domain awareness center is run by the port. In New York and in other metro cities, their domain awareness centers are run only by law enforcement. So we are the first combined city and port domain awareness center. So we're a little bit different from the other ones across the nation, but we are going to be looking at best practices as we develop standard operating guidelines and standard operating procedures.
And could you, when you use the term interoperability, can you tell me what exactly you're referring to?
In terms of communications, in terms of communicating and working with our partners, the common operating picture is really important in large disasters, so that everybody is aware of what the big picture is and what is going on, so that we're not either stepping over each other or duplicating efforts, and we're maximizing the resources that we have.
Thank you. I may have additional questions before we move on past this item, but I'm going to pass this along to my council member next time.
Okay.
Thank you.